quarantine. This is Mike Smith, and on the other side of the phone line now is
Eddie Jakes.
When you guys are stroking that brush, mashing them buttons, or anything else, which I don't have my catchphrase in front of me at this moment, and we're quarantined, we have your six on all things gaming, and we are quarantined. Well,
to be fair, we're not sick. We're not sick or anything. Basically, Mike deals with a lot of hospitals. I deal with the public. So we're playing it safe right now, and we're practicing our social distancing.
And also, in case if you guys aren't in the immediate tri-state area, New York shut down as of Friday, which would be yesterday. And as of 6 hours ago, Connecticut has also expressed its ability to do so. So essentially, if you are non-essential personnel or anything like that, you're not allowed to be traveling around. So that's another reason why we're doing this. I'm in Norwich, and my buddy is over there in Griswold. So
we're not very far at all. But thanks to the power of the internet and modern technology, we're still able to bring you this incredible content while you're sitting at home wishing you were playing, but instead planning your next adventure, which we hope you're doing. Yes, I hope so too. Especially if you guys are stuck at home, or if you have to take some time off from your job. This is seriously the best time to get all your stuff together, write some adventures. I started painting again. You got some games. I went out and beat Shadow of War. Man, that was a big old screw face me in the face, man. If you guys have ever played that Shadow of War game and you got to the ending, tell me how bad that hurt. Just tell me how bad that hurt. He's been going on about this for a while, so it's pretty bad. It really hurt feelings. I've been enjoying the new expansion on State of Decay 2. Yes, we have to go live soon. We got to do a video because I have I have a Nightmare Crew to go, and I have another backup one just in case I happen to have my first Nightmare Crew get run over by a whole bunch of juggernauts. I love the new map. There's a lot of Easter eggs in it. I shared one with the crew the other day. Right outside of a sewer, there's a balloon and a little paper boat. We all float down here. That's great, dude. I love when they do stuff like that. And before we get into because we are going to continue our guides, you brought up a really cool thing that what is it? The Middle Earth Online. Middle Earth Online, Dungeons Dragons Online. I think they're all made by the same company. They are offering like some of their expansions for free during this whole thing. It's going to go through April 30th. Because, I mean, they know people are going to be stuck at home, so they're giving them extra content to enjoy their games. Bravo. Good on them, dude, especially at a time like this. We've said this from time and time again. This is a really good chance for the gaming community to really show off what we can do. Like we said, with this Roll20 system that's out there, guys, if you want to be a part of a game, just look it up. Sign yourself up. There's plenty of great gaming people out there. This is a good chance and a good opportunity. If you got to practice the social distancing like they're all making us do, just get online and just go make some new friends, whether it be Xbox Live, Computer Live, this Roll20, take the time, meet some new people. This is your opportunity, gaming community. This really is. Giving another shout out to another online virtual tabletop, Fantasy Grounds right now has lowered the price of their product to $9.99. It's normally a $40 piece of software. Caveats is other people have to have the software to play on it with other people. Right. But right now it's $9.99. I think there's a multiple discount license that you can get for other people too, so that all people need is a trial version to play in other people's games. But again, good on them. They're just lowering their price. It's a really nice virtual tabletop because they know people are going to be stuck at home, but the game must go on. Yeah, exactly. And also, I don't know how lucky some of y'all might be getting out there, but if you're like me, unfortunately, from what this whole Trump thing is going on, if you make over $50K, you're not going to be being able to get this extra bonus money. But for those of you that will be getting this extra bonus money, and you happen to be working like I'm working right now, and my buddy Jakers here is working right now, then you get the opportunity of taking that money and maybe putting it down on one of those ultimate gaming tables that we have been so actively talking about. I'm just saying. If you have the extra out there, you know?
Well, you should prioritize food, but if you're already stocked up.
Absolutely prioritize food. But if you've got that extra cash, these things are beautiful, man. These things are absolutely beautiful. And I've been really teasing myself and thinking about actually picking one up, you know, like just because, my God, they're gorgeous, man.
And if you use the code BasementQuest50, you can save $50 on this table.
Oh, man, and they're beautiful. All right, so let's break down through the bread and butter. We've been doing these guides for a little bit, and it's interesting. D&D, they have their subclass, I gotta admit, man, they're on point. You know, because you go from having just a class, and then you have these quote-unquote subclasses that just enhance the flavor of that class. For example, you know, like we broke down with the wizard not so long ago, the different invocations that they can take. The same thing with the warlock. There's different paths that you can take. The warrior with the gladiator path, or being the man at arms, or anything like that. They're just a way that you can be a fighter and bring it to the next level. The thief last week, if you wanted to be a swashbuckler, the only way you can go about being that quote-unquote pirate right now is to go the rogue, you know, the rogue route. So putting these guys together and going against Palladium, in my opinion, is a really, it's a difficult like achievement that we're actually pulling off here.
Oh yeah.
Because it's just the thing about Palladium that unless you're a Palladium player, I don't think a lot of people really get. And this is, you brought it up today before we even went online, that we're going to kind of break this down. The combat system and Palladium and your skill set makes it a unique experience, if you will. You know what I'm saying? When it's roll versus roll, and it's not just a roll that you have to beat like in D&D. The combat, in a sense, is kind of different.
Yeah, because you have multiple ways of deflecting an attack.
Right. So my point being, before we really break this down, is D&D and the Wizards of the Coast have a really good way of kind of like funneling your way into picking your character. So if you say, I want to be a fighter, but I want to be a gladiator fighter, it's pretty much decided for you. The roots, you know, everything else, yeah, you could take a couple feats here and there to make yourself a little different. But for the most part, you're taking everything to make yourself that better gladiator. In Palladium, your skill set is what defines what you're going to be as that quote-unquote man-at-arms. Yeah, sure, you can have, say, a fighter tendency, but your skills can put you more towards that swashbuckler. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, whereas D&D really fine-tunes the subclasses and lets you kind of like go with it, I believe Palladium is really it's like a do-it-yourself, make it be all, however you want your character to be in the end is just how it is. You know what I'm saying?
There's definitely a lot more breathing room, I've always felt.
Right. And the skills, like I said, the skills is what really, because, I mean, your skill sets can increase your stat line, your attack line. Just by taking a specific, like, say, fighting class, you can make yourself just that much better in a class. You know, so it should be noted that Palladium, there's a lot more thought process, and there's a reason why a character takes almost 2 hours to make, as opposed to a half-hour D&D character.
On some games, it's almost a whole day affair.
All right, so what we're going to do today is I'm going to be breaking down the favorite Barbarian class in D&D, and I say favorite because, my God, they have quite a few subclasses going on in this. And
it seems like we've always had one in every group.
Yeah, the rage, you just can't beat the rage feature. The rage feature is unbelievable.
pretty much. It's the defining class feature of anything else. I mean, the damage bonus isn't huge, but it's reliable and consistent, and that's what's the huge part about being a barbarian. That you can rage multiple times, and you don't drop when your hit points get to 0. You can continue fighting on while you're raged. So that makes you an invaluable, commodity on the battlefield. You're not a tank, you're not a damage dealer, but you're somebody that sticks around and does constant damage, and that's what needs to be understood. You know what I'm saying? And you're a constant damage dealer.
And probably next to just like the pure fighter, I think it's probably one of the easier classes to perfect.
I gotta agree with you. So quick breakdown, obviously. Barbarians are all about getting angry and just dealing straight up damage. They have a ton of hit points. They have great resistances, and the rage, obviously, is the bonus to damage. Barbarians, the one thing that they do have is they don't have much in the way of skills. So they're generally pretty much quote-unquote marked as combat monsters. They can pretty much function either as a defender or a striker, but you kind of want to use them more for a striker. Obviously, hit points, the biggest hit points die available at D12. The saves, strength saves are fairly rare, but constitution saves are pretty much they're common, but they're also they're most problematic because you're trying to put more of your shit into strength, and you're also trying to put a little bit more into that dexterity because you don't use that armor. So it's a catch-22 with them. Proficiencies, medium armor, martial warfares will get you a long, long way. No tool proficiencies, unlike the rogue and say the fighter where they do have some tool proficiencies, the barbarian does not. We talked about rage right before I started this. The key, it is the defining class feature of a barbarian. Unarmored defense, this is another big thing. You hear the word barbarian, and instantly in your mind you think Conan. And what does Conan have? A loincloth and a He-Man attitude, open chest. That is what they want you to be thinking a barbarian is. So pretty much they give you your dexterity and constitution bonuses to match your total AC bonus. It's pretty much almost like you're wearing half-plate armor anyways. Pretty much your reckless attack makes you really good. Sense danger, obvious. I'm going to do some just real quick what you want to do for the abilities before I break down the subclasses, and I'll let you take over for the gladiator on your side. Obviously, strength. You talk a lot about strength. That's a good attribute that you want. Dexterity. You want a high dexterity. A lot of people fucking don't.
Very important.
It, right, as a barbarian, it boosts your AC. And it's like I said, if you keep going and you want to go with that armor, quote-unquote, barbarian, armorless look, you can. And you'll essentially have the AC of half-plate if your dexterity is right. Constitution. This is second only to strength. If you have a bad stat roll, obviously you want to go dexterity. Obviously you want to think strength and constitution, but you want to do strength before you do constitution. The good thing is you have D12, like we said before, hit points. So you have a good amount of hit points. The rage doesn't let you drop once you drop below 0. So there's a lot of ways to keep yourself alive. Intelligence, dump stat. Wisdom saves are very common against a barbarian because of the magic thing. So I wouldn't say it's a dump stat, but I also wouldn't kind of like focus on putting a lot in there. If you rolled a really good character, wisdom is a good choice. Obviously, charisma only matters for some of the barbarian skills, but kind of stay away from that. So how you want to break it down: strength, dexterity, constitution, wisdom, charisma, and then obviously intelligence. Real quick, you want to talk races. Your bugbears, dwarves make fucking incredible barbarians. Believe it or not, elves, because the dexterity bonus is actually pretty good. And some of the racial traits you get, the Gensai, which is that freaking the Oriental race there. Goliath, obviously tailor-made to be a melee monster. Half elf, because they do get some some skill classes and stuff like that. Half orc, obviously, is the one you really want to go with. Human, because of all the skills. Once again, barbarians don't get a whole lot of skills. The turtles, which are those turtle things, of course, the orc, and
wow, my dog got stuck underneath my house again. That's fantastic. So I will. The Dragonborn is another one. The Centaur would be fantastic. These are all, of course, if the D&D or the DM lets you do that. I can break down some. Oh, wow, you found your way out. Good job. I'll let you take over on that aspect because I will bring in a couple of the skills that I believe before and the feats that I think will also help your barbarian before I break into the subclasses.
All right, so what I'm going to bring up is the Gladiator OCC, which is features adventures in the high seas. We touched on it. The Gladiator OCC in Palladium is unique in the sense that it has its own hand-to-hand. So there's a hand-to-hand gladiator, and I believe the gladiator is the only one who can actually have this. It's unique in the sense that it has the ability to disarm an opponent on a roll of 19 or 20 and +2 to roll a punch with fall at level 1. So that's actually a pretty big deal. That means the gladiator at level 1 is able to do a disarm right out of the gate, whereas some of the other hand-to-hands, you got to go a little bit further before you're able to do automatic disarms like that. The gladiator has its rules for the arenas that they work at, which is pretty interesting. So Coliseum, amphitheater, arena, bowl, piazza, and outdoor arena. So most people, I've noticed in D&D, they'll pick Barbarian, and typically they're professional fighters. They'll be in contests and so forth. That's what the gladiators for. That's their whole purpose for existing. And they're really, really tough fighters, and they're a lot more like Conan than they are, say, a knight or something like that. They don't. They do have scale mail. They start with a half suit plate with an AR of 11 and an SDC of 35. They basically are. They fight for profit. That's the pure motive behind them. As far as race restrictions, it's pretty much, I believe, anyone can be a gladiator, except where's a really short section here? Do they not put restrictions on here? There's no restrictions. I'm going to assume. Now I'm looking at it, I'm like, do they not put any restrictions? I'm going to assume anyone can be a gladiator then, so.
Hey, well, why not? You know,
you can be a cobalt and a gladiator.
Go for it, baby.
All right, so that's basically it. Wow, it's a really short section. It was like, I remember it being a lot longer. It's been a while since I read these books there.
I got some more. Like I said, dude, I really wanted to reiterate this because it's like in the first couple guys, it's like you really shot your load, or it seems like you shot your load.
Well, because they group them all together. It's pretty tough. Like, they group them together. That's how different the games are.
Yes, that's my biggest point is the skill sets that I mean, you can literally, what I believe you should probably be focusing on next is really getting a good skill set for maybe when we pick, maybe when I go back to say like the cleric again for next week when I do the cleric, you go ahead and grab the cleric again and be like, look, these are the skills that I recommend. These are what I recommend using for the cleric moving forward. You know, if you pretty much hit up all the classes by the time we get there is all I'm.
Oh, yeah. Trust me, I'm sure you're going to blow through the classes before I do, because I think they only got one more book with extra classes in it.
Another 7 weeks worth of classes.
Yeah. I mean, we got to break down all these entertainment ones, but they're all like the actor. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. Like, again, with Palladium, it's all in the skills you pick, too. So, I mean, you could have a gladiator who farms. You know, it's like, it's all custom. That's the whole thing. I mean, D&D has pretty much a set focus on what their classes are, and Palladium leaves it a little more open.
Right. They give you a path, whereas Palladium lets you take any path that you really want. And granted, you can fuck yourself if you take the wrong path. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So quick, let me break down some skills for you. Obviously, animal handling ain't going to help you. Your athletics is going to be a big strength one. That's going to help you. Intimidation, yeah, you're really not going to be. I mean, you're already intimidating as a barbarian, anyways. Leave the charisma to the rogue. You know what I'm saying, or the fighter. Nature, not a big
thing. Perception, that's a wisdom skill. At least 2 people at the party should have it, but usually the Barbarian isn't one of them. And survival. So pretty much your athletics is going to be your biggest skill for that Barbarian. Like I said, don't rely on the Barbarian to be a big skill monster. What he is a damage monster, or a consistent damage monster, like I like to say. They really, like I said before, can't do a lot with skills. Some of your best backgrounds, I'd have to say folk hero, outlander, or soldier. Those would be really good for you to use. Criminal might be good too. You want to use something back. City watch, athletics is great, but you really won't use it too much. So folk hero, outlander, soldier. Feats, some really good ones. Durable. Rage gives you resistance, but if you take durable, you can get even more. Grappler. If you're a barbarian, let's be honest, grappler, great idea. Great weapons master. Can I just put the word duh after that? Because come on, if you're a barbarian, you're using a great weapon, people. We bring him up a lot, Jakers. And actually, I actually would like to have him on a show one time where he actually makes a quote unquote super character for me, because he's so good at doing this stuff. He finds ways to getting the right skills and getting the right feats and stuff like that. A great weapon allows you to roll 2d6 instead of the d12, and that's a good option. And then if you have the expertise, you're re-rolling once, so you're doing at least 4 points of damage. Whereas if you're just rolling that 1d12, you're maybe getting 2. You know what I'm saying? Can you get 12? It's just a great weapon is just a way to go with a barbarian that's constantly doing damage.
It doesn't hurt that he has lucky dice too.
Right, exactly. But it should be said though, he's a fighter. He's not a barbarian. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's done a really good job with his Minotaur. He's really proud of his thing, and like I said, how he breaks it down and everything. He's a really intelligent player, and it's fun as a DM when you have intelligent players like that, because you have to make it fun for them. Mounted combat. Let's be honest. I mean, it's one of those. Unless you're really in a mounted world, or the type of world you're in, that's not going to help you much. A lot of people think savagery attacker is a good thing. I'm going to tell you right now, stay away from it. The best scenario is a half orc with the brutal critical claiming. It seems like a really good idea. Stay away from it. Trust me on this. Tavern brawler. This is great if you want to complement it with the grapple skill. Like I said, don't expect a lot of feats to be good for the barbarian, because the barbarian isn't about that. The barbarian is doing the constant damage, keeping himself tough and alive, especially with that huge hit point pool. Weapons. Once again, great axe. Come on, people. Let's just stop.
Yeah.
If you pick a barbarian, don't go rolling out there with double swords or daggers. You're going to look like an idiot. Don't be throwing a javelin. That is a joke. That is an ongoing joke. We had a javelin throwing barbarian. It was insulting, to say the least.
I think I missed that one.
Yeah, you did. You definitely want to. Great axe. You're barbarian, people. Do the damage. Do the consistency.
Great axe. You want mace. Maybe a claymore. You want giant effing weapons, people.
You do. Great weapons. You want to be proficient in great weapons, leave it alone. Armor. Like I said, just go unarmored defense, please. Don't put any armor on a barbarian. If it slows you down, it takes away your stealth checks. It takes away everything that a barbarian is. Multi-classing. Once again, I've said this before. I'm not a big multi-class person, but if you're going to do it, use the fighter with this, because then you get the fighter's fighting style. It's a 2-weapon fighting style, and since you already have the extra attack with a barbarian, that'll help you. But like I said, great weapon, people. Don't be thinking these 2 weapons unless you have a nice DM like me that incorporates monkey hands back, which is a feat, and then you can double hand 2-handed weapons.
I think I made my feelings clear. Just don't multi-class.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a big thing. Obviously, a half-orc barbarian berserker is a really good way to go. For people that just want to make it your typical, what I quote-unquote barbarian. You get the massive damage dice, you get the re-rolls. There's a lot of things that you can go on with that. So I'm going to break down the first barbarian subclass. And like I said, there's good classes in this, and there's trash classes in this. One of the better ones that I think is the one we're going to start off with, Ancestral Guardian. So this archetype is pretty much, it diminishes the barbarian role as a striker, and it improves its role as a defender. Okay, say you start off the campaign, and it's a really rough campaign. You want to be a striker, but you realize come around fourth level, your team is pretty squishy. You got some mages in there, and you got a ranger in there, and a rogue in there. You don't have any tanks, so you really need to step up and become this defender. Well, good luck. Well, you just happen to have this barbarian subclass called the Guardian. Now, what it does is he has different abilities, and they're all good. Trust me, they're all good. Ancestral Projectors, it's an aggro. So in other words, it pulls the enemy away from somebody that's getting, a super soft ally that's getting his face stomped in. It's AKA, as us in Final Fantasy call it, provoke. Spirit Shield, no limitation to how often you can use this, except that it's a reflection. So, this is a constant. Like, you can constantly reflect this back at. Once again, it gets the enemy to turn on you again, get away from the squishies. Consult the Spirits. It's pretty much, you can use this clairvoyance to scout around corners, behind doors, it actually depends on your level. You can actually search out spellcasters. So it's a nice little way, like I said, if you've got a squishy ranger and he's at that point where he can't be out there in the front, use this and it'll help you. Vengeful Ancestors, as a reflection, reflect up to 4d6 damage directed at an ally back to the attacker. So you're down and out. You're about to get whacked by this huge attack, and here comes your barbarian buddy to reflect this freaking damage. 46 worth of damage back at your attacker. Now, that might kill the attacker and get you out of harm's way. Like I said, it's a good subclass for a barbarian. It's a good way for your party to kind of like make up for maybe the mistakes of you not having a tank. Is it my favorite subclass? By all means, no. It's a good subclass. It goes against everything a barbarian stands for because, in my opinion, they're supposed to be strikers, not defenders. So you go ahead and take this, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I only have 5 more subclasses.
Classes for days. All right, so what I would like to touch on... is what one of Palladium's, what they call optional OCCs, which when they say optional, it basically means it's up to game master's discretion. So they're written a certain way where they could disrupt a game if you don't know what you're doing.
Or you do know what you're doing.
Or you do know what you're doing. It's more for an NPC, but I did allow... I do believe I allowed someone to play it. This is the Necromancer.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
Yeah, the Necromancer in Palladium Fantasy is derived from Rifts. So a lot of it was like pulled from there and kind of reconfigured for Palladium Fantasy. It wasn't an OCC for the longest time. Yes. So there's a mega damage version if you play Rifts. The thing with Necromancers is exactly what they sound like. They are basically death wizards, if you want to look at them that way. They are completely consumed with like dark magic. One of the things that makes them unique is union with the dead. This power enables the Necromancer's own hands or feet to be transformed into the claws of an animal. The transformation is temporary and is accomplished by tying the claw, either skeletal or recently slain and severed, onto an appendage that is to be affected. It also requires muttering the spell incantation known only to those of the Necromancer OCC. The hand and or forearm is then transformed into a claw appendage that looks exactly like that of a creature. So you actually have to kill a creature and have its basically dead hand attached to your body, and then you can morph your appendages into that of the animal. So pretty dark stuff here.
It is some dark stuff.
Yeah. So Then it has a list of different things. You can have tentacles, rodent's claws, cat and feline claws, canine claws, bear claws, badger, wolverine, similar large claws, bird claws, talons. Now, this is the best part. If you can actually manage to slay one of these things, yes, folks, you can have dragon claws. The dragon claw inflicts 66 damage and gives the character a physical STC of 150. Wow. Yeah, so that's why it's like they use this class with caution. If you're going to let a player be one of these, prepare to have like an epic campaign.
Really big minds out there, bro. There's some really big minds that think of some really crazy things. You know what I'm saying? So that's not any. Anything new.
They can also have hooves. Hooves of any kind: rhinoceros, elephant, killing hooves, unicorn hooves. Now, this is crazy. Unicorn hooves inflict 5d6 damage. All of these cost PPE, too. I don't know if I touched on that. PPE is the psychic energy that magic users and such use. And you can have dragon feet, claws, monkey, or ape. Another one, another skill that necromancers have is augmentation of additional appendages. This power enables a necromancer to temporarily attach additional limbs of dead creatures, people, or animals and animate them as an additional parts of the character's own body. The mage can attach as many as 3 additional pairs of arms and 2 pairs of additional legs. If desired, it can also add a pair of wings, a tail, several sets of horns to its body in any combination. Not only does this magic augment the mage's combat abilities and powers, but the mere sight of such a disgusting multi-limbed body is frightening to behold. +1 to horror factor for each pair of limbs. So if you attach 5 limbs to your body, your horror factor goes up by 5. That means the players have to save versus whatever horror factor it is. Every time they see you.
That makes sense.
Yeah, every time they see you, crazy.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, so horns, rhinoceros horns, unicorn horns, basically the same thing. They can attach wings. Doesn't say if you can actually fly, though. Let me see. A pair of wings, a bird or bat can be attached to provide flight.
I was going to say, I remember reading something like it was kind of crazy like that. If you adding that, and it was the dragon. Oh, it was a recent magical item I just came across in D&D, and it was the heart of the dragon, and it was if you were a dragonborn, it increased your breath by like 2d6, but it also incorporated actual flight, like nonstop. You can use it anytime you want, and that's huge. Like anytime you grant flight to any character in any world, it adds a whole other dimension.
Okay, continuing on, the third skill of the necromancer is animate and control the dead. This is the most popular. If any of you have ever played Diablo, you love doing this. The necromancer can animate and control dead bodies, skeletons, corpses, etc., as if they were giant puppets. The power is very similar to the wizard spell. Only the power of the necromancer is considerably greater than the spell. So it is a spell that wizards can do. However, when the necromancer does it, it's a lot more powerful, obviously. The necromancer can control 4 corpses or skeletons per level of experience. The bodies or skeletons can be humanoid or animal. The animated dead to be controlled must be clearly in view of the spellcaster in order to animate them, but the necromancer can add more to his army as he locates them. So as you're going around slaughtering people, you can start bringing them back and they can fight with you. Necromancer can also send his dead puppets on simple missions such as destroy or kill, and send them wandering out of his sight, swinging at and smashing everything they encounter. The animated dead will try to follow the command until they are destroyed or until the end of the spell, maximum duration. In this special case, it no longer matters whether the necromancer is in view, present, or even conscious. So even if you knock the necromancer out, his animated dead will still follow their last command.
Right.
Very, very cool. The animated dead can be either in the skeleton or corpse form of a humanoid, animal, or monster. Each of the animated dead has a speed 7, 2 attacks per melee round, and the attacks are inflicted by punches, kicks, claws, and bites. While swords and other weapons can be used by the animated dead, they don't have the coordination to use them any more effectively than blunt clubs. So you're not going to be getting to any fencing with the animated dead. They're just going to kind of walk and swing. So it's not the most effective combat scenario, but it definitely will give you enough space. Yeah, it'll get you some space in between the person trying to kill you if you're playing the Necromancer, or if the Necromancer is an NPC that you're fighting against, because these make perfect villains. Now, we'll move on a little bit to the fourth skill, which is very, very, very intriguing, especially for people like us that use these a lot. Impervious to vampires. Necromancers are impervious to the mind-controlling bite of a vampire and cannot be turned into a vampire, but can be slain by them. So a vampire can kill you, but he can't turn you into a vampire. Necromancers know all legends about vampires and other undead. They know the proper techniques for combating them. Vampires will be covered in detail in a future supplement, blah, blah, blah. I have that book. It does cover vampires. So the Necromancer is the perfect vampire killing machine, if you want to break it down, because they're completely immune to what a vampire can do to you.
Well, that makes sense.
Yep.
Plus, they also consider themselves,
they're kind of undead.
Of the dead.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the fifth Necromancer skill. All Necromancers are inherently frightening, even if their profession is unknown to observers. Horror factor 6 at first level, and add 1 horror factor to levels 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, and 15. Also add horror factor points from bonuses provided by the addition of frightening appendages. Conversely, it tends to take a lot to horrify them. Plus 6 to save versus horror factor. That's a pretty high save in Palladium. So it's almost damn near impossible to frighten a Necromancer, but they're very frightening just by being in your presence.
Right.
Very, very cool stuff. And obviously, the skills, obviously they have lore of all monsters, demons, magic, pretty much anything you would expect. Plus, you can pick what you want. Insanity. I know we love these tables. The Necromancer often becomes deranged with the passage of time. Roll once on the following table at levels 4, 8, 10, 12, and 15. So this is one of those classes where you have to roll an insanity table. And I'll break down the table real quick. 1 through 30, no insanity, so you get off scot-free. That's the biggest gap in the table. So you have a 30% chance nothing's going to happen to you. 31 through 40, obsession, likes to torture, hunt, and kill others. 41 from 45, obsession, hates the light of day and tries to avoid it. 46 through 50, obsession, danger, loves it, takes needless risks. 51 to 55, phobia, gods of light. 56 to 60, obsession, hates good druids, especially millennium druids. 61 to 65, obsession, dead things, loves them, surrounds himself with skeletons, mummies, zombies, and the like. 66 through 70, phobia, ancient dragons. So this would work against you if you're actually trying to get dragon claws as one of your appendages. 71 to 75, phobia, high-level shaman and priests of light. 76 to 80, phobia, spirits of light, angels. 81 to 85, roll for random affective disorder. 86 through 90, roll for random phobia. 91 to 95, roll for random obsession. 96 to 100, roll for random insanity. So the higher the roll, the more wild your insanity table goes. And that's basically a breakdown of the Necromancer, what makes him unique. Very, very dark character. Love it.
That is definitely dark fucking. It's like I said, it's on that danger list for a reason, because if you know what you're doing and your GM kind of lets things get a little bit out of control, it can get dangerous. That's one of the best ways to say it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like there's certain classes, because like I think giants, they don't recommend players play giants, but the stats are there if you really want to let them do it. You got to understand you're going to be running a very unique campaign if you're going to let a player play a giant.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's certain things that are just going to be off the table. Dungeon crawl's pretty much off the table. You can't really do that. How's a giant going to get in the dungeon? It would have to be a really big fucking dungeon.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to break down the next. This I'm not, like I said. There's a lot of them that are trash, and there's a couple of them they're decent. This one I think is trash. The Battle Rager. The abilities center around the use of spiked armor. If you can't get spiked armor for whatever reason, your primal path becomes pretty much worthless.
I'm not a big fan of this. This almost kind of seems like the Wrestlers, the Legion of Doom or Demolition. You got to have spiked armor to be effective. You know what I'm saying? So you're taking away the aspect of actually being this armorless, barbarian, essentially.
Well, it's got an intimidation factor.
Yeah, it looks cool. Sure, it does look cool. Battle Rage armor, sure, free attack as a bonus action is great, but the rage bonus damage still applies. The ability to do damage when you grapple is also nice. Reckless Abandon, this won't be a big pile of hit points, but pretty much it's good towards your constitution. Battle Rage or Charge, similar to the Charger feat, but you can use the multiple attacks as action. Not to mention you're pretty much just a running wrecking ball of spikes. Spiked Retribution, not a lot of damage. However, its ability to have multiple enemies and get multiple attacks helps you a lot. Like I said, it's not a big choice. I'm not a big fan of the Battle Rager. If you want to be a quote unquote Battle Rager, it's more about the image, I think. If anything, this is one of my favorites, and this is the classic quote unquote Barbarian, the Berserker. The Berserker is, like I said, the classic Barbarian class. If you want to be a mad wreck people's face, biting their nose off, spitting down their headless throats, this is the person for you.
This is the hack and slash class.
Yeah, fun fact for you, Berserker translates into bear warrior, but the Berserker has nothing to do with bears. Just so y'all know that. Frenzy. Oh, man. When you absolutely positively have to kill everything that's in that room. An extra attack is a bonus, plus the economy of 2-weapon fighting and the possibility of extra damage in a two-handed weapon. Exhaustion can mess you up. This is a big thing. My buddy Rob made a Berserker, and he realized how important exhaustion was because you can literally kill yourself if you rage and you keep doing this frenzy. Because a frenzy is essentially rage on crack, but it takes a toll on your body. Mindless rage. This makes you immune to two ways. It can't take you out of combat, and also it gives you a huge, and I mean pretty much almost double your hit points. Intimidating Presence, pretty much worthless in my opinion. It's a good way to make people kind of stay away from you, and as a Berserker, you don't want the enemies to stay away from you. You want the enemies to be in front of you so you can be doing the damage. So I'm not a big fan of that Intimidating Presence. Retaliation.
Well, hey, I'm going to push back on that a little bit because you had an NPC that scared the shit out of me once.
Yeah.
Well, before it was a thing, Gronk.
Yes.
Yeah, Gronk. I think it was Gronk the Berserker scared the hell out of my character, who was a vampire.
Yep, exactly.
And I ran away. So, no, I'm going to push back. That's useful.
I can see where you're going with that, absolutely. But like I said, as a Berserker, that's one thing that you want. You still want that enemy in front of you. Retaliations. More attacks are absolutely fantastic. Put this onto the fact that you're frenzied with the mindless rage. It only works, however, with enemies that are 5 feet in front of you. So don't try to use the pole arm with this. Once again, use the big, great weapons. This is what a Berserker and a Barbarian is for. Storm Herald is a good choice for Barbarian that has pretty much a fluctuating party. This allows you to pretty much adapt to the suit of your needs. Pretty much the environment is a big choice. For example, environment choices. If you choose the environment that pretty much best defines your subclass, desert, sea, tundra, pretty much it's a different. The different auras and these different shields pretty much allows it can either help your allies or defend your allies. For example, the Storm Aura, pretty much it damages your enemies or grants temporary hit points to you yourself and your allies. This only functions while raging, but it also makes your rage kind of cool. The Storm Soul, if you happen to do the Tundra, for example, cold damage isn't as common as fire. It's weak in the shape of water. It's exactly useful. You have Storm Shielding, which requires an ally to stay within your aura, which in some cases might put them in a way of an effect such as fireball or breath. It's I think we hit this up with the was it the war, not the warlord class, but the war master class. It's one of those that it's a really.
It was one of those.
Depends on how your campaign is, right? And it's also the actor for the rogue. If you have a really based campaign around certain things, this would be one of those things that might work out for you. Once again, I'm not a big fan of the Storm Herald. I just kind of, it's a decent choice. Like I said, it's more or less if your party isn't rounded out. If you join a whole bunch of people that just don't talk beforehand, if you're on Roll20 or something like that, and then this party is just kind of put together, you know what I mean? Sometimes the shit happens and you pick the wrong things, and it goes the way it is. This is one of those things where if it's not going your way by level 4, you can pick this up if you want to actually help your party. Totem Warrior, I like this one a lot better than I like, obviously, the Storm Herald. I'll tell you that. Totem Warrior is it's a customizable Berserker. Think of it that way. You can be a defender, you can be a striker, but it just depends on your totem animal of what it does. So, Totem Spirit defines your combat tactics. Bear is for defense, Eagle is for strikers, Wolf is for barbarians and other strikers in the party. So if you choose the bear, you're basically an unstoppable pile of damage, resistance, and hit points. You pick the eagle, you're running around between enemies. That's not exactly something that a barbarian is really good at. Elk, your barbarian gets really fast movement. Whatever. The tiger, jumping almost never matters in a game where you can gain magical flight. This is it's one of those things. Wolf is very extreme. Extremely helpful for rogues in your party. Rogues get the sneak attack for attacking the enemies threatened by all enemies, but giving them the advantage gives them that extra reliability. So if you take that aspect and you're helping your rogue buddy out, you're granting him an advantage on sneak attack. Now, as we said before, the barbarian isn't that mega damage dealer. He's your constant damage dealer. But if he gives your mega damage dealer the ability to hit more, then that's a really good thing in itself. Aspect of the beast. It's pretty much like the totem of the beast. The different things, it's kind of like set up in a different way. None of them are really good, and none of them really come into effect. I mean, they're all situational, essentially. Tomatic attunement is when you actually attune your improvement in combat tactics. This is big no matter where you go. Whether you pick the bear, the eagle, the elk, the tiger, or the wolf, it's all there. From the bear, the force nearby attacks the enemies instead of your allies. They can still move away from you, but that draws an attack of opportunity, which is a huge, horrifying benefit for the barbarian. Eagle, fly over enemies. Elk, this is a cool little trip mechanism which allows you to knock your enemy prone without cutting into your attacks. So you can use this to kind of like a free bonus action to knock the person down, and then you can go, because he's prone at that point, get enough hit points, coup de grace, my friend. Tiger, it's pretty much a charger feat. Bonus attack is always good, but the option of being able to dash across the board to do that is nice. The wolf, in my opinion, is one of my favorites. Knocking an enemy prone gives the advantage on all attacks against them, including your second attack and the extra attack which is coming in. Also, the allies threatening around can take advantage of that as well. That's a big thing. That is, like I said, that's the Totem Warrior. I believe Rob was, when he was first joking around when we were making this, that was one he was playing around with. He really liked the idea of it. It's a good subclass to roll with. Last is Zealot. I'm not a very big fan of the Zealot.
Zealot.
Really good choice. Yeah, Zealot. I'm sorry. This is a really good choice for somebody who has a tendency to die a lot. We know those characters. We have those friends out there that sometimes, they're just a little too zealous.
Well, yeah, that's because they're insane.
Yeah, exactly.
They pretty much have an obsession or insanity or a death wish.
So that's exactly what this is.
So Divine Fury, whole bunch of damage and pretty much nothing fancy. If you do 2-weapon fighting with this, you have additional opportunities with the bonus. But like I said, it's just pointless to run 2 weapons when you can do the heavy weapon, when you can do the great weapons. It's just pointless. Warrior of the Gods, generally dying is something that you have to, you try not to do. But if anybody's going to die, it's going to be the Barbarian. Or if anybody that you want to die, it's going to be the Barbarian. That's a Zealot. Because as long as you take enough damage, you won't die, and you actually grant temporary hit points to some of your peoples. Financial focus or fanatical focus, it's a pretty much save or suck effect. If you fail your save, you get to reroll it again. Zealous Presence, once per day, doesn't affect you. It gets more useful as the larger your party is. It allows pretty much your party it grants the abilities to more of your party. So if you have like the summoners out there and shit like that, the more things that are out there, the more to benefit off of it. Rage Beyond Death, drink a potion of healing right before your rage ends, and your functional ability to die due to hit points while lost is not available. It's essentially, it's like taking a free action. So you're about to die, and free action down a potion. Ooh, yeah, I'm not a big fan of this. The Zealot could have been somewhere else. I guess I understand why they put it in the Barbarian aspect of it, because he is essentially a mad Barbarian warrior running around screaming and yelling. But with the options of, say, the Totem Warrior, the Berserker, or even the beginning one when I said the Ancestral Guardian, where he's a defender, you have 3 other way better choices. Why would you waste the time on being a Zealot? Like I said, maybe because you die a lot, and this is pretty much a die-proof class, because they give you more saves than any other Barbarian class out there, and
it would be a good one-shot character.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're just playing like a one-shot game and you totally intend to dispose of the character when you're done.
Yeah, it'd be something fun to do, like I said. But with the options of the different things with the Barbarians has and some classes out there, I really feel like it's a wash. It'd be fun, you know what I'm saying? It'd be fun for somebody who's done it all, sort of say. If you've done it all and you just want to try something new, and hey, like I said, maybe go with the anti-traditional great weapon and go with the 2-handed, short swords, and make something completely different that just wrecks the world, you know what I'm saying? Or like I said, just prove me wrong. That's another big thing. But I'm not a big fan of the Zealot, and I'm definitely not a big fan of the other one there that I said, the caster one. Hold on, let's go back. The Storm Herald. Or the Battle Rager, I'm sorry, the Battle Rager. Not a big fan of the Battle Rager, the spiky guy. Like I said, I think on paper it's a really cool idea. I think when somebody came up with it, they were like, dude, this guy's just going to be like a wrecking ball of spikes, man, and I could see it, I could feel it. It just kind of seems to me like it could have been so much more. It could have been better. I just don't like the ability of you putting these, the armor on a Berserker, on a Barbarian, when I kind of feel like this whole open chest thing has been a Barbarian thing forever. And with the abilities that the Barbarian already has, which is the weaponless, or being armorless, why would you want to put armor on a Barbarian?
Well, you know what? We talked about ElfQuest a couple episodes back. A perfect example of like armor being out of place was that whole war with were they trolls or ogres? They were trolls, right?
Troll.
So
yes.
The elves had to wear that big, heavy armor to fight with these trolls, and it totally like affected their fighting ability. And half of them like almost died because of it.
Yes, absolutely.
So you just use that as an example of trying to make a character something that they're not, or a character class something that they're not. Because everything looks good on paper. I mean, they used to have bards be sword masters.
No, low hit point having bards being sword masters. I'll never forget. That was the first time I did the tournament there, the Mortal Kombat style tournament, and one of the guys I had in there was Tub,
the
ultimate bard, and he was a blade,
But the biggest thing was when he got into the last rounds, it was hard to keep him alive. He had no hit point. So if you had some of these people, and some of you guys had bonuses up the ass where you're hitting on like a +7 or a +9, whatever.
Well, we had a Berserker with us.
Yeah, exactly. And you're hitting almost all the fucking time. Well, if he's hitting you back and you're hitting him, but it's just a matter of who's doing the most damage over or amount of time, guess what? My blade isn't going to be lasting long because he got like 86 hit points. And you got like 210.
As soon as that like blunt force trauma connects, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, exactly. Splat. Especially if it's a critical, 2 criticals, you're dead.
You're kablooey.
Yeah, even with that bullshit Thaco.
The Thaco was terrible.
Yeah, Thaco was terrible. If you folks haven't learned by now, I didn't like Thaco at all.
Apparently, but this is why we want to get people, for the whole Pathfinder thing, because apparently people said that Thaco is kind of a big thing over there. And,
well, that was the whole thing about it. They wanted to keep, between 2nd and 3rd edition, they wanted to keep that going, so... Hey, more power to you. I mean, my favorite system, and I'm a little nostalgic, is still the original Advanced Dungeons Dragons. It's still my favorite system, as far as D&D goes.
Yes. I've always been a big Advanced Dungeons Dragons was one of my favorite scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
The 3rd edition I felt was, wow, like, holy
I felt that it was, like, incomplete.
Yeah, exactly. It felt like, because 3.5 come at you. And then not long after that, 4 was right on the doorstep. So it was like by the time we even had a chance to get used to it,
I gotta say, like, when you have to do especially when it comes to like RPG systems, if you got to do a point something, you failed.
Yes, exactly.
Because that's something computer games do when they put out like incomplete games. Like we've seen it before. Like even as much as I love State of Decay 2, it was a little incomplete. Yes. Now it's phenomenal. I love what they're doing with it, but
I love going back to it. I'm going back to it like when people are online and building up my characters. So when we do get online, I don't have a bunch of schmoes,
Exactly. When we get like a whole army of juggernauts coming at us. But like, I don't know, for an RPG company to put out like a 3.5, I mean, it feels like you're getting half of an update, and it's just like you're admitting that you screwed up.
Yes. And you know what? In a time where a lot of gaming, companies, especially your Xboxes and your EAs and stuff like that, constantly and synonymously apologize on a daily basis, I guess it would be only so long before the role-playing company did the same,
Right.
I mean, it's depressing and it's sad, but that's at the end of the day what we're essentially looking at.
Right. And it's like, honestly, I'll be the first one to admit, I think the Palladium system could use a few tweaks here and there, but like usually when they put out a new game, they either fine tune the combat or something. Like with Dead Rain, I think this is the best melee combat they've had to date. And I'm really looking forward to the game. It's like, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, definitely, man. When you make steps going forward to a game that makes the game and playability extremely better. Like I said, I've said it a million times over. I will sacrifice graphics for gameplay.
Oh yeah.
Day of the week, man. If you're deciding whether you want to have jubblies have realistic effect, or if you're going to give me a better playability, give me a better playability every day of the week. I don't care about the jubblies. I don't care if the butt is moving left to right when they're walking at a really slow pace. Who cares?
No.
Give me the playability every day of the week.
Exactly. To this day, I'm playing like these independent point and click games, and they're like 1990s graphics, but the games are fun. Like you put out a fun game, people will play it.
People will love it. People will be more than play it. They'll be all over that,
I mean, like, keep it real. I mean, it's gotten better, but World of Warcraft graphics had never been groundbreaking.
Neither were Final Fantasy 11, but I fucking had fun with that game.
No, exactly. It's just you focus on the gameplay. The graphics should come later.
Agreed.
I mean, if you can have a game with great graphics, like for what's that game you were playing there? I still haven't gotten to play at Red Dead Redemption there.
God, yeah.
The graphics are beautiful, but the gameplay looks fantastic. Imagine if you spent all that money for this pretty game with like shitty gameplay.
I would, yeah. I've seen those before.
Fallout 76.
Yeah, there you go. Bingo.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. But anything else we want to touch on real quick? Or
I think besides the fact that, people have got to, get that subscribe button hit up. We are killing it, man. I'm super excited with everything that we've been pulling off. Just keep it coming, people. Your shares. I mean, it felt awesome to see that climb go up. We're trying to just give as pure and as awesome of a show as we possibly can. And dude, I think we're doing fantastic, man. So please continue hitting that frickin' subscribe button, hit that bell so you get the notifications. Once this whole Corona thing is done and said over, we'll catch back up to having the episodes dropping at midnight, come Saturdays. But right now, like I said, we have to kind of not be where we're doing our part, keeping our social distancing.
Yeah, our jobs just put us in a higher risk factor. I'm sure we'll be fine, but like I said, Mike's services like hospitals, and I service people going into people's houses and stuff, and if
you can't not, and we can't not do this right now. This is something that we as people need to step forward, and people need to understand that. And like I said, we respect each other's boundaries, and like I said, you have a house over there, and I have my place over here, so we made shit happen. Like I said, we really hope you enjoyed this guide. We got next week, I will be bringing the cleric. We're going to be doing a little different format like we kind of talked about during the show. I think maybe Ed will maybe break down his ideas of maybe taking a class and then skill running it for you and explaining how he likes to say, have a character get played out or get rolled up or something like that.
Yeah, I'll put that together for you folks. I'll also touch on the shaman next week, and I think that pretty much wrap up the classes for Palladium.
Yeah,
and then maybe we can we'll touch on some of the actual worlds themselves a little bit more in depth. We'll talk about some of the realms in D&D, and I'll talk about the different areas in Palladium. We'll actually talk about where these adventures are actually taking place.
Oh yeah, absolutely, bro. I'm like I said, I'm looking forward to it. The support you guys have been giving us is fantastic. Comment anything. We're still looking for that Pathfinder guy. So
yeah, if anybody's out there want to chime in on Pathfinder, if you're running the game, we'd like to hear about it.
Right. If you're like, nobody stepped up, step up, man. Be that guy. I'll tell you what, Vince was all over it, for Delta Green, and he made a lot of people happy. There was a lot of questions that got answered, and there's a lot of questions that people have for Pathfinder too, man. So if we could just get that out there, like I said, we've been throwing it out there on Twitter, or even if you know a DM that, would be perfect for this, show them this show. Show them our Twitter account. You know where you can find us. DM us. We'll get this going, guys. This is going to be an exciting time for us. And while you guys are at home, make sure you're taking care of that. Make sure you're writing those adventures. If you got that book that you've been wanting to do it, man. You got that story, do it. That painting job, do it. Take advantage of this opportunity now while you can, because you're going to look back and you're going to regret not taking advantage of any of this.
That's right. And as always, you can always find us at www.basementquest.com. We're always there. We're writing, we're producing, we're doing stuff. It's great.
Join our website. Leave your pictures, man. Go to our Facebook or our Instagram.
We got the forum.
Yep.
You can drop pictures in the forum.
Absolutely. Let's see what you guys have been doing, man. Hit up anything. Start a discussion today. How about that? Do something, man. Get out there and get that gaming world going, guys. But I'm Mike Smith.
I'm Eddie Jakes.
This Basement Quest, guys. We'll be seeing you guys live again really soon, but we really hope that you appreciate what we're doing right now, because we didn't want to miss a week with you guys.
No.
All right. We love you guys. Be safe.
Take it easy. Be safe.